Welcome, one and all. You have come out of warp and have entered orbit around your favorite podcast. Welcome, one and all, aliens and humans alike, to the garage. I'm your host, Dan Massimino. I'm the drum major, the capitan of the head of our fabulous parade here in the virtual studio. But I just want to take a quick minute to thank our many listeners out there in podcast land in these stressful times. Your support means everything to us, and we love all those notes and feedback we get, so keep them coming. We love reading them. It makes all the season, holiday or otherwise, better for us. So thank you for tuning in and letting us fill your ears a bit while we try to make the retail media industry a better place for us all. If you do happen to be joining us for the first time, welcome in. Grab your tool belt and slide up to the workbench and let me fill you in on what it is we say we do here. The garage is a place where we get together and talk about many, many things. But where we really hit that sweet spot is when we get some friends and dive into the why, the how, and the who cares of retail media innovation. So you heard me say it, but speaking of flying a starship and coming out of warp, I am very proud to bring to you a man who not only passed the Kobayashi Maru without cheating, he did it while simultaneously negotiating a ceasefire agreement with the Klingon Empire. He can build his own warp drive, folks. He just has chosen not to because the internal combustion engine on his motorcycle is just too darn cool. The VP of Product Innovation at Albertsons Media Collective, my man, Evan Hvorka. Hailing frequencies open. Evan, how are you, sir?
I love it, Dan. Are you getting paid per word on these intros? Do we have a different contract?
No, it's more about reaching a time allotment than anything else. Yeah, filling the void, filling the space. That's what we do.
I would rather have our listeners listen to your dulcet tones than mine, especially with a little nasal congestion going on today. But yeah, beam me up to whatever you're on, because I love the passion you bring to these intros, Dan. Star Trek, not a top content for me, but definitely in the same genre. Firefly was my go-to, followed by Star Wars.
Okay, I'll give you Firefly. Mix of a Western and sci-fi. I am down. Absolutely.
Yeah, I won't speak for Joss Whedon's history there, but we'll speak to the content, not the person.
I was always hoping for another season. Didn't get it. Did get a movie, wrapped it up kind of nicely, but we're all out there longing for more, that's for sure.
Indeed.
But enough about us. I'm pretty stoked today. We have brought back an old friend of the show in to enlighten us and enrich our lives for the better, I'm sure. We're going to dive into the transformative power of technology and innovation within the retail media industry. And as RMNs continue to grow, the need for these smarter tools and strategies has never been greater. That's why we are here. From driving incremental ROAS to harnessing the power of AI and advanced analytics, retail media networks are reshaping the way brands connect with consumers in an omni-channel world. And there is no one better to educate us on that than our friend Shawn McGahee. Shawn is the head of retail media at Google, a little startup out in the Bay Area, where he leads a team that partners with retail media networks to support their growth via Google's media inventory and technology. He has more than 15 years, but he doesn't look it, of experience in digital marketing and personalization across various industries. He's helped many Fortune 500 companies build out their digital marketing strategy and structure, and has a passion for using his expertise to empower retail media networks to reach and engage audiences effectively. I did a little bit of light stalking on my friend here. He's a proud graduate of USF. That's right. You guys have a bowl game this year? You got a bowl game this year?
Yeah.
I think so. One of them. It's some kind of bowl. I don't know. He's a proud graduate from there. He hails to us from Google, our friend, Shawn McGahee. How are you, sir?
Doing great, dude. Thanks for having me. Happy to be back. Hopefully I said something last time that inspired you to bring me back, but it's an honor to be here.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you, sir. And the last time you were on, we got an incredible amount of information dropped into our little pinheads. So we are grateful to have you back and educate us on how things are shaping in the industry. What does it look like from last year, this year, and beyond? So we're excited to jump into the conversation. I know Evan is chomping at the bit to ask you some questions, but I think first and foremost, if you could talk to us a little bit about the verb in everybody's life, Google. Just Google it, right? What are Google's big bets for the upcoming year, and how are they going to support and grow the RMN space?
Yeah, I would say we have two big bets in retail media as Google for 2025. Big bet number one is around incremental ROAS. I think over the last couple of years, as retail media networks have matured, as brands have gotten more organized across their organizations on how to include this in the mix, we see the resounding need and demand that we're just not showing ROAS from these campaigns, but we're showing incremental ROAS. And we believe that adding Google's inventory to a retail media campaign fundamentally drives incremental ROAS and helps hit that key metric for advertisers. And so our big bet is how can we use our inventory to support that aim? And the second big bet is around managed and self-service. We know retail media is primarily a managed service industry today, but in light of the lean in and the growth of the industry, we anticipate more self-service requirements and demands and need when it comes to scale. We're looking at our platforms and how we can provide managed and self-service solutions across our suite.
Love to hear that. Speaking of the lean in, Google has really leaned in on everything you've mentioned, putting RMN and flexible buying options, performance, transparency at the top of your list. I don't know if that's all resting on your shoulders, Shawn, because it seems like a lot of that progress happened when you joined. We don't have to get into that detail, but you certainly have been the voice of a lot of positive change when it comes to supporting retail media networks. And we definitely appreciate it as strong partners with you on many of those products. We've seen tremendous shifts in flexibility, capabilities, in really not in ways that serve the RMN world so much as it serves the CPG, which inevitably serves us as well. So kudos, before we get into the details, kudos to that level of shift at a company of your size. Not an easy task.
I appreciate you giving me more credit than I'm due. I have a team. We have great product partners that are leaning into this space. Like I'm just, in this moment, the face and the voice of extensive effort at Google to do right by this ecosystem and help us grow together.
Yeah, that's right. I'll tack on our mantra there in that space too. Doing right by our clients includes flexible buying options. The old single track, single horse race of managed service got retail media from 0 to 60. And now growth is going to require custom partnerships, custom solutioning, modular access to our capabilities. A lot of like tech talk to really just say, we need to put our assets into the hands of the people who buy them, be that the CPG in-house team, one of their agency partners. Really, anyone who wants to buy our product should have a path to do so on the tools and tech track that they prefer. And the more we can do that, the more everybody can benefit from retail media.
So let's ask Shawn about that. Shawn, Google being a massive entity that it is, and yes, kudos on turning that ship. We know how hard it can be to take a large enterprise and get it to shift tracks and thoughts. But how does Google ensure that its tools cater to both those established retail media players and those emerging networks looking to scale up quickly?
Yeah, I think one of the many multiple benefits of working at Google is our ethos that we build for scale. And so we don't approach problems and challenges in the space of how can we build it for large customers before we build it for small customers. Like we approach challenges with scale in mind. And so with that, with how we're building in retail media, we're really leaning on our Google marketing platform. So ad tech platforms that the industry has been using for years and looking at what's the retail media application for those platforms. And so lots of expansive things we've done together with Albertsons and our Search Ads 360 platform in that space that you can speak to. And then also DV360, which is our DSP. We're looking at those platforms and saying, how can we add managed service and self-service elements into these platforms that have scaled? And then we notice how different retail media networks, based off of their maturity, their nascency, and their strategy, are leveraging those scalable platforms for their needs. And we see all different types of frameworks in that regard. But from a product standpoint, we approach the challenge building for scale up front.
Well, the shoppable piece, I think that's our mantra too. Everything we're doing is to enable shopping. Not all meat has the exact same connections to that shopping moment, that point of conversion. But the closer you live to that very impactful reason for being, the better you can justify the investment in a platform. I think CPGs value the retail media most importantly for that transparency around conversion and ability to flex. And it's not easy though. It requires a lot of granular detail, SKU level detail, things that are like in stock regionally that may be even available regionally for big banner stores like Albertsons, where we've got all kinds of different inventory positions across our 2,200 plus stores. It's a tough nut to crack, but Google seems to have pulled it off. I think for me, the most exciting recent revelation of that journey is the SA360 capability. I'd love to get your point of view on how that's been presented to the industry? Any feedback that you've been getting from clients? Our pilot is certainly going well underway, but I'd love to hear how it's been received by the rest of the networks.
Yeah, happy to. I wanted to start with like the motivation for why we started with Search Ads 360 in our retail media building. And it's really from the fact that there was some BCG research that highlighted that about 80% of retail media campaigns are search campaigns. They're either search ads on retailer websites through the sponsored product infrastructure, or they're offsite ads on search engines like Google that are using those search engines to drive traffic to that retailer website or drive incremental conversions in that space. And so we've really saw the opportunity for SA360 to be one of our first efforts in retail media, just because of the simple fact that so much of retail media is search today. And so with our product, we are starting with the offsite component. And so how do we make it easier for you to add to your on-site sponsored product ads with an offsite Google Shopping offering? Recognizing that your enterprise marketing campaigns are also running Google Shopping. So how do you have the vendor and the marketing funding working together? Recognizing that the Google Shopping inventory for some brands, because they don't have e-commerce, they can't even buy the inventory. So how do we make it self-service so that your manufacturer and your retail media team and your enterprise marketing team are like all working in concert to drive sales at your store? That was the inspiration for where we're going in that space. And we have a lot of partners in that space, and it's growing, and super excited for Albertsons to be one of the first and the only grocery retail media network that has been announced as a partner for that beta.
Oh, that's exciting.
Let's go. It's because it's alphabetical order, McGahee, right? A comes first. Just know that. Yeah.
I like the extension of the journey there too. If you think of the customer intent, searching for a product on Google, and there's lots of ways to do that. I think we're going to get into some of the different flavors. The intent is to probably find a location, what's close by. If there's product inspiration, maybe they don't have a brand picked out yet or a place to transact picked out yet. That's really the Google powerhouse that's been in place for many, many years. And then if you just follow that journey down, even though the technology switch to something on Safeway.com enabling search, now they're really shifting to what's in stock. So I picked my brand. I want the Mondelez cookie brand, but is it in stock, or do I need the sugar-free version? And is it at my local store or the store that I'm going to across town to go to my friend's house? So we really just, same journey, different level of detail. And the more we can tie those two things together, like feed those two systems, the more we can make that shopper happy, which makes everybody happy.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. So we actually see at Google, 70% of the searches that are happening on Google are category searches. And so you see less searching for specific brands and more searches for the category of that brand. And so as we talk about the journey and like where they are in that mindset, they've come to Google before they've picked a brand or a retailer and said, hey, I am shopping for X. And with retail media campaigns, using Google Shopping and bringing those supplier imagery and product feed into that moment, that's where we're seeing our impact on incremental ROAS. So before they picked the brand or the retailer, you were able to get a Unilever shopping ad at Albertsons in front of that consumer. And we're seeing that at that moment, we're driving incremental conversion to what might be happening from an on-site sponsored product ad.
That category intent where the brand isn't chosen yet and the retailer isn't chosen yet, it really accelerates the mantra behind why SE360. It was time to grow into this multi-headed dragon where you've got enterprise investment. So Albertsons, which represents Safeway, Jewel-Osco, Tom Thumb, a collection of premium banners across the US. They have dedicated budget to play in the SA360 world, in the search world, and have been doing so for a long, long time. And it's really geared towards getting people into the store. So there's location ads in there. There's categorical searches where we're maybe buying all the soft drink terms because we're not really favoring a CPG at that point. But the journey is really about getting you into the store. The Google journey at that point, that's the enterprise investment. When we go to why a CPG might care about an RMN angle, is you could ramp up the brand's favorability within that category context. So get your large share, larger than average share from that category research before they get to the brand website, where it's much more of a likely a known brand is chosen. There's a trip coming up. That conversion journey is really important, but some of the selection has already been decided. That upper funnel, non-brand decided behavior is really living on the Google side, which is pretty cool. I'd love to get into how we tie all that together into a single strategy where it's enterprise budget, CPG budget, and enabled through RMN to make that come to life. But I think that's likely a phase 2 evolution of this SA360 journey. It doesn't have to be perfected to see value.
Absolutely. And we see so many queries and so much more demand happening on Google. The often individual retailers' marketing budget alone can capture. Like there's just so much headroom happening in this category space that we fundamentally believe that for the manufacturer, this is a core category marketing share play. And there's not a manufacturer out there that's not thinking about how to gain more category share. And so these are the stars that have been aligning that have led us down this path of SA360 with retail media features in that platform.
So if you're talking about it and we're talking about it, it means it's got to be a popular thing to talk about. But there are those that are hesitant and they think through cannibalization perhaps as something that may show up. Can you give a little bit of advice to a brand that might be hesitant about adding some offsite search to their retail media campaigns, maybe due to that fear or other fears that may surface?
Yeah, I think one of the things to think about is what you're actually buying. And so for many brands, those that don't have their own direct-to-consumer offering, they're buying Google text ads. So they're buying like the brand text link on the Google search result. And that is a valuable asset. It certainly helps with awareness and consideration and informing customers about your brand, but it doesn't drive sales to a specific retailer. Like it doesn't point to your product details page on Albertsons. And so with Google Shopping, which often shows up right above those text ads, they're able to access the product availability that Albertsons has at that moment and point that campaign right to their product details page on Albertsons during that category query. So net, it's like additional inventory that they don't have access to on their own. And so that's one element to why we're not seeing the cannibalization. 2, from a consumer standpoint, even if you have your own direct-to-consumer offering, the person that came on Google and typed a category query before they picked a brand or a retailer, they may have an Albertsons loyalty member and want to get those discount benefits, or at that moment in their query, Albertsons was nearby. And so that's a more relevant result for them. But as a manufacturer, you're not showing up in those moments, then you're at risk of that category sale or like that category market share opportunity going to somebody else. And so that's how we see the manufacturers that are really leaning into this, thinking about this and not just exclusively concerned, well, my CPCs might go up, which we're not seeing at scale either. But they're thinking more strategically on, hey, I'm trying to gain category market share. I'm focusing my retail media offsite search campaigns on category and not brand terms. And I'm using that moment to drive my product sales with my retail partner.
I love that. Let's go a couple layers deeper, because if you're Kraft Heinz, huge, important, valuable premium brand, they don't own a lot of their D2C. It's enabled through all the wonderful retailers that service the US shopper base. And what I love about this evolution of SA360, yes, there's the upgrade from pure keyword text. I mean, this is where Google got its start with search. Still very valuable, but not tied to anything that a consumer might think is a modern path to conversion. So there's no imagery, there's no price point, there's no logo of their favorite retailer next to it. What the retailer does is bring that Kraft Heinz product SKU set to Google, because that's a journey that only the retailer can provide. It's what's in stock next to Dan, what's in stock next to Shawn and Evan, and then the price points and the location of that store, all of that fun stuff, the hours of operation, all of that shows up in our location ads within Google, which are separate from the text ads. So now you're upgrading not only from general interest type of keyword text into something more actionable.
And then I would add the cherry on top is for any other offsite channel, it's the only one where that manufacturer is only paying on the click. And so for every other offsite channel that could be activated by a retail media network, you're getting charged generally by CPM, but you are only getting charged in this environment on the click.
That's a very unique offering, right? Other than app downloads, it's pretty much all CPM or flat fee. Yeah, that's true. So for performance-based investors, that is a top strategy. Maybe talk a little bit more about the other expanded ad units in the Google stack. So we went from keywords to image and location and price enabled search ads. I think that's a huge upgrade. We did talk a little bit about the massive amount of volume within Google search for any particular category. Even though the retailer enterprise side is buying some of that, not at a brand specific level, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what's available. So you could, speaking again to a Kraft Heinz, not only are you growing your overall category share at the Google level, you could grow category share as it drives to a particular retailer. So interesting way to play your competitive angle within a retailer without having to get too deep within the store itself. You could change the amount of traffic flowing to that retailer based on how much you invest on the Google product, which is pretty fascinating.
So Shawn, fill in the blanks on that, on the evolution there. So the evolution of these products at Google, right? The iterative process, how has it grown over the years? It started out and then it turned into a verb that America followed. And now okay, so what is the secret behind the curtain here? Tell us a little bit about the evolution of search at Google.
There's much more qualified people at Google than myself.
Yeah, but you're here right now. So it's you. You're the most qualified Google person here right now.
They didn't return our calls, Shawn. Andrea wasn't available.
Hey,
Robbie didn't return.
Anyone, I have maybe made this sound more simple than it actually is.
There you go. It has fallen to you, my friend. Explain it using crayons. Go.
The way I see the evolution of search has been like a progressively advanced usage of data. Like the way what search started at, and even if you think about our kind of like Google shopping inventory, it started with product listing ads. And product listing ads was like an online only format. And then we looked at the data infrastructure that we have with maps and the signals we have in the merchant center from the feeds that retailers are providing to us. We said, okay, we could create local inventory ads because we have the unique asset of maps and near me queries and be able to point you to where you want to go through Google Maps. And so we created a new search ad unit leveraging those data strings. And then as we talk about Performance Max, which is AI driven, you give us a goal and we're going to run these campaigns using the signals and the data and the technology that we have across all of the relevant Google channels to get you to that goal, as just like a simple explanation of just like iterative usage of data to make the search experience better. And that's probably the as deep as I'm qualified to go on the evolution.
But I love it though. It gives us a nice picture of what it was, what it is. Now talk to us a little bit about what is it going to be? Put your that future look lens on and tell us a little bit about the future of search in retail media. What do you think that's going to be? What's the next iteration?
I think from an on-site standpoint, as I talked about Google's journey in this space, there's an opportunity for on-site sponsored product ads to go through a similar journey. I think the data that retailers have in this space is expansive and deep. And just the history of data that you have on shoppers is amazing. But how are you using that in your search ads to incrementally make those sponsored product units better? I think is an opportunity for the retail media industry in general. And you definitely see retail media networks begin to lean into that and like leveraging AI, adding video into their sponsored product ad solutions. Just like how can you use the data that you have so that the results in those units are more relevant, more performant, and more incremental to the bottom line.
Connecting those two very similar behaviors together with technology, I think makes a ton of sense. It's funny to think about the data that's driving an on-site search. So Safeway.com, someone searches for that barbecue sauce. It's really a system powered by an item feed, right? Again, at the risk of being redundant, it's what's in stock, what's the price point, here's the image, here's the descriptions, gluten-free. That exact item feed leaves the retailer. It powers that website, obviously powers then the on-site search, usually through Criteo or Criteo, depending on what side of the pond you're on. They're a huge partner of ours for the on-site side of the business for the search behavior. But that same item feed then leaves the four walls of the retailer and makes its way over to Google. And this has been a multi-decade plus relationship as the enterprise wants to ensure Google can perform enterprise search behavior at the level that the enterprise is looking for. So it's an interesting connection point. Almost no other channel has that same embedded merchant level sharing of data to power it. I mean, because a lot of the other data sets are very sensitive, very controlled. Item data, price data, promo data. We want this information out there. We're begging for consumers to look at it, get excited about it, put together that shopping trip and complete that new recipe that they just saw. I love that connection point. It starts the journey on step 7 compared to a lot of other folks looking to connect deeper into retail media. But for those looking or searching for things beyond SA360, maybe talk a little bit more about some of the video capabilities that Google's been ramping up to for retail media and others.
Yeah, we're definitely leaning into the shoppable components of YouTube. We think it gives you in retail media networks, the added benefit of sight, sound, and motion, the ability to create demand, turn consideration into sales, and going back to that incremental ROAS, like getting return on ad spend or these campaigns that are incremental to the campaign overall. I'm very excited about YouTube's ability to do that. And one of the things I personally just don't think YouTube gets enough credit for is just how much of a shopping destination YouTube actually is. Before we recorded, I was like, I have some stats.
Let's go. Yeah, I've been waiting. Like, search, great. Tell me about these stats that you have. I want to hear these things.
As y'all know, I was an analytics professional for 15 years before I came to Google. So I love a stat. I love some data points. And stat number 1, that there are actually 700 million views of product unboxing videos on YouTube every week.
That's bananas. That's insane.
That's right.
Watch me open this and show what's in it.
Absolutely. What a great opportunity to add a retail media campaign with the item feed from a retailer like Albertsons in one of the commercial moments in that video to then say, hey, this product that you're looking at is available in your local Albertsons. Click this button to convert. Just like a really simple activation that is not as leveraged in the retail media space as I believe as it could be. Got another stat for you. There are 50,000 years, like the equivalent of 50,000 years of product review videos watched on mobile devices on YouTube within the past 2 years. Like in the past 2 years, we have the equivalent of 50,000 years of product review videos being watched just on the mobile device on YouTube.
That's crazy.
That is insane.
I'm guilty of both of these, for the record. And just this weekend alone, and it sounds crazy, but I had a hot water heater go out and I didn't want to replace the whole hot water heater and I needed a specific part. So I watched a video on the specific part and guess what popped up, right? Click, purchase, it's on its way here.
Have you heard of the term a YouTube dad? My wife told me about this the other day.
Uh-oh. Do I have a new label now, Shawn?
YouTube dad for sure.
Let's go. Yeah.
Is the dad in the house every time there's like something to fix? The first thing they do is they go to YouTube and learn.
You have to.
All over having it fixed. You're a YouTube dad. And I was like, I'm absolutely a YouTube.
Absolutely. I have fixed, I mean, it sounds crazy and I know everybody has the same story, but I have fixed a 2500 HD diesel pickup truck from bumper to bumper. I have now replaced hot water heaters twice. I have repaired dishwashers, but all these parts, all these things came from ads because then you have to go hunt for it. Well, if it's right there, done. That's remarkable. 50,000 years of content in the past 2.
Well, man, that is an insane amount of content, but it really speaks to a couple things. And I say this in a positive manner. The niche amount of content, you can call them channels. I know the comparison between CTV is not new, but not necessarily one we have to lean into. But you've got niche channels now because people are subscribing and following the creators that they like. They certainly are looking for the content they like. You've got almost an infinite amount of quote unquote channels that satisfy Dan's needs, not always in service of solving a problem. A lot of it's entertainment. And when you think of the definition of a CTV program versus YouTube consumption, is very similar. One is getting educated, entertaining yourself, looking at this next celebrity and what they're up to. They both offer the same, One is in more digestible chunks and more curated and available to a niche group. The other is a little more of a subscribe and sit down and watch service. But the ability to advertise and solve shoppers' problems is very similar. I think the difference is item feed integration, custom targeting through audience, closing the loop on measurement. Not that it's perfect in either side of that equation, but it's much more achievable when you're starting and ending the journey with common data sets. So I really appreciate that side of it. I'll say one more thing and then throw it back to you, Shawn. On that journey of, yes, I have a problem. I need to know how to soothe the steak. Let's watch a video on how to do that. That's a very obvious extension of behavior.
Wait. We're not just going to gloss over that. Do what exactly?
Don't make me pronounce this, Dan. Sous vide?
I don't know. I grill stuff. I don't know what you're doing, but keep going.
I'm trying to sound fancy for our guest.
Ooh la la.
You gotta be fancy, believe me.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to let that slide, my friend.
I did have to YouTube that because I was unfamiliar with the process. But that's a very targeted behavior that I think a sous vide manufacturer or steak seller within a retailer could target. And that's very niche and highly functional and I suspect performant. But it's all the other behavior. You're watching the unpacking of any content. It's no different than sitting down and watching a show on your favorite streaming service. You're choosing a platform. You want to be entertained. You're going to have some ad experiences that are relevant to what you're consuming. Let's make those as targetable and close to the point of conversion as possible. I think that's a big differentiator that I haven't seen even Google perfectly articulate in the marketplace of why it's different than CTV. I think people think, I'm Googling the diesel truck, I'm going to buy a diesel product. Makes a ton of sense, but it's all that other behavior that isn't even necessarily shopping adjacent. It doesn't have to be unpacking videos. It could be recapping the celebrity gossip in your city. All the fun other creators that are out there have audiences. Those audiences buy all kinds of products. And so there's ways to tap into that.
Yeah, YouTube is absolutely a full funnel video channel. Like there is not a marketing objective that a retailer for their own marketing or manufacturer for their own marketing or via retail media networks. The objective that they may have that YouTube can't solve for. And one of the core reasons for that, like we did some third-party research, this is my third stat.
I was going to say good stats come in 3.
Stats.
Right? So I knew you had one more. Give it to me.
We did research with TalkShop around social commerce and video study. And in that, YouTube is the number one platform that's used to research a product or a brand or make a decision about a purchase. And so because of the strength of YouTube, because we're a full funnel video platform, there's not an objective that we can't hit with that platform. But for retail media specifically, and as we talked about, Evan, that item feed, that product availability data that retailers have, that brands just have on their own, that combination of the relevance of why someone's watching that YouTube video, so much shopping behavior and purchasing behavior on YouTube, and then the ability to say, this brand is available at the Albertsons that's down the street from you and your retail media ads, we just fundamentally see is like a powerful combination.
So it helps with that purchase piece. How does it help with loyalty? Coming back and doing it again. What does that look like?
I got a 4th stat.
Hold on. 4 stats is extra credit. I like it. Let's hear it. Fine. 4 stats, Shawn. I was going to say 3. We'll allow 4th. Go ahead.
So that same study we did with TalkShop, we found that 85% of shoppers who use YouTube in their purchase journey have made a plan to make a repeat purchase of that brand. And so not only is it good for discoverability, good for that initial demand creation and turning that demand into a sale, from the research that we've done, we also are seeing that it helps make that repeat purchase. It helps with loyalty. It helps continue that relationship between the viewer, the retailer, and that brand.
I think I know the answer to this one, but when you talk about accessing all of that great potential, on the SA360 side, Google's made a lot of investment in allowing CPGs to have more control and say, and even with self-service, execute the campaign. YouTube's not quite at that same level. What are the plans to make buying YouTube easier in terms of an agency on behalf of a CPG or a CPG doing it in-house with retailer data?
Shawn, you've dropped a lot of knowledge on us today, which has been awesome. And the 4 stats in a row, like bang, 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 which is amazing. I have one question that we didn't prep you for that we're just going to throw out there and see what you think, because I know a lot of people listening would like to know, what's it like working for Google? I mean, it's, that's not one we ask people, but Google it's an institution in world culture, for goodness sake. What's it like working there?
Man, that's a good question. So honestly, Google was my dream job. As I think I told y'all earlier, I have a 15-year analytics career. And so I've been in digital marketing and analytics for a very long time. There's not a part of my career that Google did not touch. And that was like my dream place to go. And all of the how well Google treats its people is all true. Like, you get the questions of, are there sleep pods? And like, do they feed you every day? It's all true. Like, it's absolutely a phenomenal place to work. And I think doing this retail media work at Google, which, Evan, as you mentioned, has been a journey over the last couple of years. And we've been growing our strategy and finding our fit in the market and how we can add value has just been like a unique experience to kind of do something entrepreneurial and something the size of Google. So super just blessed to have the opportunity. And I'm really excited for what the market is going to experience and what we're doing this year and beyond.
Well, that's beautiful. Be a spokesperson for the HR department.
I like my job. Feeding my kids is great.
Yeah, paychecks are neat.
Fantastic. I'd love to see the energy you bring to our relationship, and I've seen it transforming other parts of Google as well. The whole make it relevant, make it easy. That was true in the beginning of your tech stack journey, but then retail media comes along and other industries come along, legal restrictions come along and make it hard. And I think there's few companies, I would put, maybe no companies, I would put ahead of Google in terms of their commitment to the retail media space and changing institutional technology stacks to make it a little easier for us to keep our CPGs happy.
I appreciate that, and exciting more things to come. I'm very excited for our roadmap and everything else that we're doing in this space. And as always, so appreciative of Albertsons Media Collective and your partnership and your willingness to explore and beta things and help us fail it forward, see what's not working so that we can be better for the industry. Y'all have been great partners in that regard, and I deeply appreciate it.
Well, I guess check and refine. It got me through high school geometry. It'll get us through retail media network development as well. So Shawn McGahee, head of retail media ads at Google, thank you so much for being on The Garage with us today. We really appreciate the partnership and all the insights and the stats that you bring. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Evan, anything for the good of the order before we clean off the workbench here?
I was scouring my brain for some good Star Trek quotes. I think I would do a disservice, especially with such a professor on the other side of it. So I'm going to just leave you with peace and the Vulcan symbol for, what does that mean, Dan?
Just say kapla. It's Klingon. We can do that.
There we go.
I like it. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into The Garage, everybody. This is a production that Evan and I hold near and dear to our hearts, and we're thrilled to bring it to you each and every time that we can. If you liked what you heard, and I know you did, hit that like button, subscribe button, find it where you get all your podcasts, and we'll catch you on the next one. This has been The Garage.